And continuing on from the previous video with regards to the policy creations, this is the second policy that I created as part of Stuart's Policy Wizard, and it's the Info-Sec.Live BYOD Bring Your Own Device policy for Ghost CISO LLC. As we can see there, it's got the record of approval from Mr. Secure, the CISO, on the 23rd of the 6th, 23, and this is version 1. And the purpose of this Bring Your Own Device policy is to express the expectations around the appropriate use of personal devices brought into the workplace by the staff of Ghost CISO LLC. This policy aims to ensure the protection of sensitive information, maintain security best practices, and align with compliance with privacy legislations. The scope covers all staff, contractors and authorised personnel of Ghost CISO LLC who choose to use their personal devices for work-related purposes. It encompasses the use of mobile PCs, laptops, tablets, smartphones or any other personal device that can be used to access company resources and data. So moving on to the responsibility section of this policy, and I've broken it into each sort of area of staff and their responsibilities. So we've got the first point is management, and it's management's responsibility at Ghost CISO LLC for establishing, implementing and enforcing this BYOD policy. They're accountable for providing clear guidelines, resources and support to ensure that the policy is compliant. And for staff and authorised personnel, it's down to the staff and authorised personnel who choose to utilise their personal devices for work-related activities. They're responsible for understanding and adhering to this policy. They should ensure that their personal devices meet the minimum security requirements outlined in the policy, and they must report any lost, stolen or compromised devices directly to the IT help desk and management. It's the responsibility of staff to follow best practices for device security and use authorised applications for work-related tasks. Staff should report any security concerns or potential policy violations related to their personal devices to the appropriate channels. The IT department's responsibilities involve managing and supporting the MDM, the mobile device management software used for BYOD, and they should provide guidance and assistance to staff regarding the installation and configuration of MDM on personal devices. IT should support promptly addressing technical issues that are discovered from the staff and personnel, device management and security concerns related to authorised personal devices, and they should ensure that the MDM policies are effectively enforced to protect company data on personal devices. So it's ensuring that we've got someone sort of maintaining and looking after this process and procedure to ensure that it is actually going ahead and is happening. So the IT department have got the sole responsibility there for ensuring that MDM and everything within this policy is able to be adhered to using their technical support. So data security, it's down to all staff and authorised personnel to prioritise the security of company data and confidential information. It goes back to the acceptable use policy, where cybersecurity and information security is everyone's responsibility, and that continues over when we're using personal devices here as well. So you should exercise caution when accessing or storing company information on personal devices and ensure compliance with the relevant data protection regulations. Staff are responsible for maintaining the confidentiality and integrity of company data on personal devices, and they should not share it with unauthorised individuals. And lastly, we've got the compliance area, and it's all staff and authorised personnel utilising their personal devices for work-related purposes must comply with the applicable laws, regulations, and all of our company policies. They should familiarise themselves with the security best practices and privacy legislation relevant to the jurisdiction and ensure their actions align with these requirements. And then the policy will go into a little bit more detail about how we do that. So before we go on to the core of the policy, we've got a definition section as suggested within Stewart's Policy Wizard course. So we've got BYOD, bring your own device, and that refers to the practice of staff and authorised personnel using their personal devices such as mobile PCs, laptops, tablets, smartphones and other approved devices for work-related activities within the scope of this policy. You've got MDM, it's mobile device management, and that refers to the software and technology solutions used by Ghost CISO LLC and the IT team there to manage and secure company data on authorised personal devices. MDM enables the enforcement of security policies, remote wiping, data encryption and other necessary security measures, which all helps in the whole grand scheme of things of preventing that unauthorised access and unauthorised disclosure of sensitive information. And personal devices refers to the mobile PCs, laptops, tablets, smartphones or any other approved device that's owned and operated by staff or authorised personnel used for work-related activities as per this policy. And security best practices refers to the set of recommended actions and measures designed to protect against security threats, which includes but is not limited to using strong passwords, enabling device encryption, keeping software up to date and following secure browsing and email practices. We've got authorised applications, and they are software applications that have been approved by Ghost CISO LLC for use on personal devices within the scope of the policy. The applications are deemed safe, secure and appropriate for work-related activities. And then lastly, we've got IT support, which refers to the technical support services provided by the IT department of Ghost CISO LLC. They will assist the staff and authorised personnel with issues related to personal devices, including maintenance, troubleshooting, security concerns and the installation of any necessary software. So this definitions is needed within the scope of the policy just because this policy will be going out to all members of staff. There will be members of staff that don't have that technical background or technical knowledge like we will. So we've got the explanations of BYOD, MDM, just general acronyms and general technological keywords are explained just a little bit more appropriately for them. So moving on to the actual core of the policy now. So it's broken up into several sections. On the actual written policy, these sections are numbered so they can easily be referred to later on at a point if you've got, say, like a disciplinary procedure or an investigation that needs to be looked into. A certain point within the policy, you can pinpoint which number point within the policy that investigation is referring to if need be. So we've got the first bit, devices, and with this, staff may use their personal mobile PCs, laptops, tablets, smartphones and other approved devices for work-related activities. Only mobile devices are permitted for BYOD. So that has been added to illicitly explain to staff that they cannot bring full-blown desktops into the work environment. The BYOD policy is purely for personal devices to be able to access work-related materials, just for the convenience more than anything. Obviously, Ghost CISO LLC will be providing the full-blown equipment and desktops, etc., for them to continue their work in the office environment. So we go on to type of devices, and personal devices must meet minimum security requirements defined by Ghost CISO LLC, which includes up-to-date operating systems, security patches and antivirus software. Staff devices must be of standard retail state. The use of jailbroken or rooted devices is strictly prohibited. Obviously the term jailbroken and rooted may be confusing to some members of staff, which is why it's been reiterated with staff devices must be of standard retail state. Now what that means is a iPad, for example, or an Android phone purely bought from the shop with no adjustments made to it, and it's standard version. Jailbroken and rooted means that it's been manipulated in some way to be able to have unauthorized software loaded onto it, which would cause potential issues with unauthorized access and the unauthorized disclosure of sensitive information. So we don't allow devices that have been cracked or hacked in that way. They have to be the shop bought standard retail versions. Moving on to MDM, as covered by the IT department. Ghost CISO LLC will utilize mobile device management software to manage and secure company data on authorized personal devices. MDM will enable the enforcement of our security policies. It will allow remote wiping, data encryption, and any other security measures that we deem necessary. So obviously this is really important here for if any device does get lost or stolen and it's got access on there to some of the sensitive information, we have a way of making that inaccessible for encryption, or by being able to remote wipe the information off of the device. We go on to device security, and staff are responsible for implementing the appropriate security measures on their devices, which involves password protection, biometric authentication and PIN codes. And devices should be protected with a strong passcode or password. And again, like the acceptable use policy, it's a case of that password is yours. Do not share it with anyone else. Any theft or loss of the device containing company information must be reported to the IT help desk and management, and devices should be configured with remote tracking capabilities, allowing for remote wiping if necessary. And access remote in the office, BYOD devices may be permitted to access company resources remotely. That will be subject to authorization and compliance with our security policies. And secure remote access methods, such as virtual private networks, VPNs, must be used when accessing company systems or data from external networks. Again, we have touched on this on the acceptable use policy, and it's having these two policies tie in and working together so that we haven't got any confliction across the policies. So that these sections are similar to the acceptable use, but it's the acceptable use within your bring your own device. This is the second half of the actual core part of the policy, and we move on to the authorized applications. We're defining here that only authorized applications defined by the company Ghost CISO LLC should be installed and used on personal devices for work-related activities. Now, what that means is we're not saying if you've got Facebook and Twitter installed on the phone, for example, that you need to uninstall those off of your device. We're not saying that. It's your personal device. They should be on there. But we're defining that you shouldn't be using those applications whilst you are on the company network. And this is to try and prevent unauthorized disclosure of information through malicious code contained within an app that we haven't authorized. The authorized applications, the ones that we have authorized, we have tested those apps and we know they're secure, we know they're safe for our work environment, which is why they've gone through that authorization process. It is to just confirm best practice when it comes to security. Now, staff must follow any app installation guidelines and restrictions that are set forth by us. And just going on to what I was saying earlier, whilst connecting to the company network, staff-owned devices should not be used for personal purposes. Only the company's authorized applications should be used. If staff wish to use their own applications, staff need to close the authorized applications that are open. So the work applications that are open, they need to be closed. Then they will need to disconnect from the company network prior to using their personal applications. Microsoft Office 365. Ghost CISO LLC utilizes Office 365 for productivity and collaboration purposes. Staff may access and use the 365 applications on their personal devices, again, subject to compliance with this policy. Moving on to the best practices, staff should adhere to the best practices for device security, which includes regularly updating device software, applying security patches, and utilizing strong passwords or biometric authentication methods. Staff must not share any company information or credentials with unauthorized individuals or use their personal devices for unauthorized activities. IT support. IT help desk is available to provide support and assistance for authorised personal devices used for work purposes. Staff should contact the IT support in case of technical issues, device maintenance or security concerns related to their personal devices. The agreement to abide by the terms of this policy. It's as simple as by using your personal device for work-related activities, staff acknowledge and agree to comply with the terms and guidelines outlined in this BYOD policy. Failure to adhere to the policy may result in disciplinary action, including the revocation of BYOD privileges and potentially leading to dismissal under Stage 4 disciplinary. So we've got this all explained in here to show how our staff can use their devices on our premises and on our network and what they can do with it. But obviously with the access of sensitive information that they've got whilst using their devices on our network, we have had to put limitations on how and what they do. So this is all defined within this policy. It is short enough to the point that it's not too long, and hopefully staff aren't going to get bored or skip reading it, but it isn't too long in the point that they're not going to pay interest to it. And ultimately, by using their device, whether they have illicitly signed this policy or not, the policy does state by using their device for this purpose, failure to adhere to the policy will result in potentially dismissal. So it is really important that stress that staff understand the importance of the security aspect of using their device and what they can and cannot do, and that is detailed, like I say, within this policy. And the very bottom footer of the policy, we've got the additional sections, subsections and references. So these are the references that are made throughout the policy to legislation and that kind of thing. So Ghost CISO LLC acknowledges the importance of adhering to security best practices and relevant privacy legislation, such as the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, Texas Data Protection Laws, the Stop Hacks and Improve Electronic Data Security, SHIELD Act in New York, and the GDPR in Europe, and the applicable privacy laws in Milan. The policy is designed to align with these requirements. And then again, we're just listing references to all of the other policies and all of the regulations there through the countries that we operate as Ghost CISO LLC. So we've got there the Ghost CISO LLC Patch Management Policy, the Ghost CISO LLC Data Handling Policy, the Ghost CISO LLC Data Protection Policy, the California Consumer Privacy Act CCPA and the California Privacy Rights Act CPRA for California, the Stop Hacks and Improve Electronic Data Security SHIELD for New York, the General Data Protection Regulation GDPR for Milan, and then the UK's adaptation of the GDPR, the UK Data Protection Act 2018, the UK DPA 2018 for London.